Starting to the bottom left of the map, we have them. We have the prime player. This is, of course,
MarineKing Prime.
MarineKing had to give his crown to Maru, who just won the OSL Finals against Drain. And to the top right, we have his first opponent today. It is for Samsung Khan.
삼성전자 칸 RorO.
Every single time I hear that intro, it's like, hop.
Yeah. They used to even say something else like Samsung Chonjakan or something like even faster, and they toned it down because that was like the official name of Samsung Electronics, but it was like, well, that's just not necessary for an English broadcast here.
Let's talk about this for just a few seconds. I said that RorO is definitely one of the favorites to get out of the group. He's one of the fan favorites, at least at that. And MarineKing, he is starting to just get better in this matchup, especially now in Heart of the Swamp, since he had a pretty shaky start into the expansion set. But if you look down his match history, he has 19 maps played and a 68% win ratio. But the more impressive thing is that if you go down the match history, he won every single of his last 6 matches against Zerg. He won against True, he won against Memori, against Shine, Gamja, Zero, and against Effort, the match that I mentioned earlier in the WCG qualifier with a 2-0. And that leaves him with a really nice chance here against RorO, who's struggling a little bit in this matchup. RorO has 21 maps played, which is very similar to the amount of games that we see for MarineKing, but he only won 33% of them. He only took 7. Of course, you can argue that RorO is up against some of the best players, the best Terran players in Pro League, players like Innovation, to whom he lost 5 maps in total, and Flash. But just in general, it shows a little bit of an indicator here.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the most notable game that MarineKing dominated in recently this matchup is the game against Memori. We watched him just trash his opponent basically with very aggressive play. Extreme domination there. Maybe a little bit of nerves out of Memori, but still, MarineKing definitely, overall, the better player in this matchup, I would say. And drone checking here, making sure there's no barracks, no proxies or anything like that, because that's something that MarineKing has shown the proclivity to do quite a lot, especially on a map like this that's so small. And MarineKing is taking fast gases here behind his barracks. He's going to get a factory up. He's also going to come in here and check to see if RorO is taking a gas. Very safe play here for MarineKing so far.
And that's actually also a really interesting note to say that about MarineKing, because he's one of those players that is really known to be like overly greedy and to always go for kind of the same builds. And with him getting away with this opening, this is usually something that gives him a bit of an edge in the game. So MarineKing right now going with a double refinery straight into his tech. He's getting a lot of gas here. And I'm really interested to see how he's playing this game. Against Effort in general, coming back to that match that he played against the Caspar Zerg player, he played very standard, very aggressive with Marines, with his Widow Mines, and of course also Medivacs, pushing out with Marauders, trying to just take the game right off the start. And in one of those matches, he also led with a really, really good and well-executed timing push, very aggressive with a few Hellbats. So that's something that he could do in a game that we see today. Keep in mind he has to face 2 Zerg players in total. And RorO at this point is already scouting a little bit, trying to find out if there's maybe something proxied. And he takes a triple gas at this point.
Yeah, triple gas very quickly here. It almost feels like a 2-base Spire Lennox style or something.
Yeah, 2-base Spire is definitely something that you can pull off. We talked about this a lot in the past. It's a build, if it blindsides your opponent, you can do a lot of damage with it. You can definitely have a bit of a surprise momentum, but usually it's something that is very transparent to a Terran player that scouts. MarineKing is a little bit known to skip scouts and not really make any use of them, so that could be his downfall going up against such a build. But if he identifies what's going on and sees it, then he might be able to defend against it, and usually a Spire build puts the Zerg quite behind in upgrades.
But you know, there's a Roach Warren going down, and MarineKing's going to be able to scout with his Banshee. That's really important for him.
This is going to be actually not going to be any kind of Spire build at all, at least not at the beginning, because he's getting 4 Overlords at the time now. He's heading into speed. The third base will most likely not be going to be saturated at all, but just for the production. And with this many Overlords at that time, it's very likely that we are seeing a heavy Roach commitment, and we will probably even see the Baneling Nest. And in my mind, there's no doubt. There it is.
Yeah, there it is. The thing is, the Banshee play can be good against this, but he doesn't have a whole lot else. The Hellions are not going to be good, and MarineKing is starting a 3rd CC behind this. He's not going to have any siege tanks, probably not very many Widow Mines, if any at all. So if you keep all these things in mind, RorO could still do damage despite the fact that the Banshees are going to be able to target down Banelings and also damage the Roaches.
The Banshees help you a lot against these builds. It gives you a little bit of safety early on, and you can target down those Banelings very easily. So it's very important for MarineKing to identify this early so that the Banshee can start to do its damage. And MarineKing is just going to town at that third base, and that's something that he can't really afford. He's not going to take that down, and even if he does, it's going to take too much time.
He has no idea what's coming. He has no idea at all. The Lings and the Roaches are just sneaking around the right side. He has not seen them, not even a little bit.
Scouting is everything with this, and MarineKing has to wonder at some point what's going on here. It's actually really surprising to me that he didn't even try to sneak in to see what's happening. There's no defense at that third, and MarineKing has to wonder at this point, why is there no defense? Why isn't there even a queen coming over and trying to push me back? And now he knows, but it might already be too late.
I think it very well maybe he doesn't have a bunker, he doesn't have anything. No Marauders, no siege tanks, no Widow Mines, no chance here. The Roaches and Lings rolling, he doesn't even need Banelings here. Calder's just breaking up the ramp. The Banshee's trying to help out, not a whole lot of DPS there though.
The entire army of MarineKing is moving back. I'm not quite sure if that is really the perfect choice for him. He might have been able to sneak a few Hellions into his opponent's mineral line and do some counter damage, but as it is, he's trying to defend here. And for the Zerglings, of course, the Hellions coming back is bad news. They are being taken out, but the Roaches, they still do damage, and MarineKing is falling farther and farther behind in the Harvester count. He can still rely on those orbitals on the other hand.
Yeah, you know, the Roaches here are a little bit caught, struggling to go down the ramp, and that's where the Banshee's doing some really good damage. He is trying to rely on that third command here, just hold on a little longer. The second Banshee is out, he saved a lot of his SCVs, and it looks like he's actually going to hold here decently. 20
SCVs have been killed, and he is far behind in the Harvester count, but with the third orbital now being started, he will soon be able to rely on 3 orbitals on the triple SCV production. He's behind in SCVs, yes, but the Mules, they make up for that, and he's the first one to go into his upgrades. Also, the third base is, of course, down.
Yeah, and he's going to put on a ton of pressure here. There's no answer for these Hellions. He only has 5 Roaches.
You know, that was a pretty brutal attack by RorO, and he did a lot of damage, but MarineKing, I would definitely give him the edge here, even though he lost this many Harvesters.
Absolutely, he has a third orbital, and these Hellions are going to do so much damage. He tries to make an evolution chamber wall, it fails.
Oh, don't line those guys up.
He tries to line some of them to save the others, but I think he's kind of in disbelief right now. I think he knows there's nothing much he can do. He's going to lose every single Harvester here.
That's not funny anymore.
That was brutal.
That was horrible for RorO.
This is nice at least, I suppose, but he lost so many drones.
He is down to 26. He's on the same Harvester count that MarineKing has, and with the triple Mule being in the game, there's just no way. He's trying to go into Aspire right now, but this is a desperation move. You know, he never really got any Banelings, and I feel with Banelings he could have done a little bit more, not to bust down that wall, but to just move them into the SCVs.
Yeah, you know, that's a really good point. I think making the Banelings really could have helped out. I think he was maybe concerned about Banshees targeting them, but even still, now MarineKing has triple Harvesters, and yeah, he rebuilt all of his drones, RorO that is, but that means he spent all of his larva on that. He has no army, and he's going to be weak against any follow-up pushes like the 1-1 with Stim follow-up that MarineKing is probably going to send out here relatively soon. He also has to deal with these Banshees.
If you go for such a build, you need to do more damage than RorO did, and that's a big problem that the Zerg player had here. Yes, it looked really like MarineKing would suddenly struggle because he had to open up his main base, he had Roaches everywhere, but just the counter damage, and the tech was never really taken down by RorO, so we still have those Banshees on the map. We had the Hellions there, the Hellions could go in, and the Banshees alone will give RorO a hard time now. He just needs to keep them out of the range of those Spore Crawlers.
Yeah. And he doesn't even use Cloak yet. He could start to target down the Baneling nest, which would help him against the Banelings when he goes for his attack later. Could even get the spawning pool here. There's no way RorO could save that spawning pool. Even with the Mutas coming out, he needs to start an Overseer right now, and even if he did, he wouldn't be able to save it. He will be able to kill these Banshees with the Mutas, but losing the spawning pool is a big problem here.
Yeah, the spawning pool is down. He can't mine from the gas anymore. And by now we have MarineKing with the +1/+1. He's a little bit late on the armory, but he's getting it now. Here come the Mutalisks, and there is detection as well. So, yep, those Banshees will go down eventually, but they really already did a lot of damage.
Yeah, they did a ton of damage. They killed the spawning pool, a bunch of workers. They've also, forced an Overseer, which was cancelled smartly by RorO. But they also killed a lot of the Roaches back at home. They're really, really cost-efficient Banshees.
Also, we have the missile turrets now on the way. With the Banshees immediately spotting those Mutalisks, he can prepare for his anti-air. There will be no way for RorO to really do damage if MarineKing doesn't leave himself open to attacks now. He knows what's going on, and with the Widow Mines that he has, and with those missile turrets, he should be able to save most of his structures, so he doesn't leave any openings for the Zerg player to exploit. And that's all that he has to do. We have RorO still on 2 bases.
Yeah, RorO's still on 2 bases. His 3rd hatchery's on the way, but it's so late. He lost his first 3rd base. The Mew's trying to sneak around here. The Marines, a stim there, not really going to catch too much. Gets 1.
What RorO has to do now to come back into this game is just to keep MarineKing busy for as long as possible, trying to deny that 3rd base or the 3rd mineral line for as long as he can with good meterless control, and get his own 3rd base up, playing it a little bit reback home, getting those upgrades out. The question rather being if MarineKing is really going to be allowing him to do that.
Yeah.
I think MarineKing is getting into 2-2 already now that the armory is done. A little bit later than expected. Just look at the discrepancy that we have in the upgrade timings here.
Exactly, and Baneling's speed here, yeah, it may be done in time for this push, but how many Banelings is he really going to be able to have when the attack comes? Oh, he could have tried to cancel combat shields there, but these Marines chase the mutas away. And this attack is so deadly. RorO has a few roaches. He's trying to make 32 lings right now. He's got really no defense. The mutas are not going to be able to fight. And in fact, several of them are already going down here in the middle of the map.
That's a problem when you commit to the muralist. You leave yourself a little bit weak on the rest of the units, but that's why RorO is now getting those Zerglings out. And you know, with both of them, he can actually do quite a lot here. It's all about the timing, but nice scans, forcing the creep back once again, and that kind of negates the entire creep spread that RorO had so far. Yep. Oh god, those evolution chambers also exposed. He's gonna lose those upgrades.
He loses upgrades, well, at least one of them. Now he's going over to the 3rd base here. MarineKing not taking any chances, not overcommitting. And the Widowmine hits. Decent there, not the best ones. Yeah. MarineKing is just such a good spot here. Good splitting.
Yeah, yesterday we asked Fantasy, do you even split? He didn't, but MarineKing does. Not the best splits that we have seen from him, but they are good enough. He could take down the 3rd.
He should target it.
Yeah, and that's what he does.
Well,
no, not really.
But there's still no harvesters here.
And the other problem is that the hatch is so low in hit points that it should not be a problem for MarineKing later on to just move in and take it out.
He's not even concerned, considering that he has the 3rd base of his own already running. His 2-2 is almost completely killed in Evolution Chamber. He knows he's going to be ahead in upgrades. His Widowmine count is starting to get quite high. RorO doesn't have Overlord speed. It's just really hard for him to engage anything that MarineKing is doing. See how slow the Overseer is, can barely keep up with the mutas.
RorO has a much bigger problem. He is very low in lava. He just waits for every single new inject round to pop, and then he invests his money. He has a lot of gas, and you could really see the entire time that he was waiting for those lava to pop. And the problem for him really being that he is only on 2 hatches. You can count that 3rd, of course, as well, but anytime MarineKing wants, he can send a drop over with just a few Marauders and take it out. It's actually something that he should do and probably will very soon. So MarineKing in a superior position, and he's just getting farther and farther ahead in this game. If you as a Zerg look at this match and you look at the replay and you realize that 18 minutes into the game you are 30 supply behind, you know that something went horribly wrong for you.
Yeah, something definitely went horribly wrong. And, you know, part of that was that Hellion attack, part of that was the fact that his Roach attack didn't do very much. MarineKing has the ultimate army to destroy everything RorO could have ever dreamed of having in this game. He's trying to get these creep chambers up. That's not going to happen.
For MarineKing, it turned out to be really important to take down the 3rd base that we saw earlier with the Hellions and everything. I was a bit surprised that he didn't try to scout, but at this point, in hindsight, of course, the decision, the right one, he was able to just take down the army at the bottom left without suffering too many losses. And this is, of course, just a cleaning job that he has to do.
Yeah, he's cleaning up the last of the roaches. There's barely anything left. The mutas can't fight. The mules are being dropped. 2 of them, in fact. GG.
MarineKing, after solid defense at home with the 3rd orbital that he had, gets into a really advantageous position against RorO, takes the game, and that's what we've been talking about earlier. He's doing so well against Zerg these days and getting just better and better in this matchup.
And RorO's attack just looked very shaky. It's a strong attack, but he didn't make Banelings. His Roaches got caught on the ramp where they weren't able to kill SCVs, and they weren't even killing depots or add-ons. The Banshees just killed them. He damaged a lot of depots, and then all of his Roaches died. It's just one of those attacks that just doesn't go like you want it to.
MarineKing was very, very confident in his abilities to take this game. You can really see that he didn't make any mistakes after he was already ahead in the match. So a very, very solid performance here. At the beginning, we still have to say that at the beginning RorO could have done a little bit more with Baneling. So MarineKing still kind of rolling the dice with the defense that he had. I would have loved for him to at least send 1 or 2 Hellions over to his opponent's natural to just check what's going on so that he would have been in the know a little bit faster.
Yeah.
If he would have known, he could have redirected a few of the Banshees to just intercept those units of his opponent. But since RorO decided to not go for any Banelings whatsoever, there was not a lot that RorO really did with this attack. Taking down 20 SCVs looks nice on the scoreboard, but in the end, you need to do more than that if you're up against 3 orbitals.
Exactly. If you don't have 3 hatcheries and your opponent has 3 orbitals, you need to kill like 35 SCVs at least, you know, or kill all of his army and a lot of his depots, or even one of his orbitals or something like that. Force lifts. He wasn't able to get a whole lot done. Now it's time for Curious to play a different Protoss player. Same matchup. He's going to be playing against Deer. This is Deer's first game, of course. Curious already laying the smackdown on Killer with a strong defense. He's still chewing that bubble gum.
Yeah, Curious, for him, it's maybe from a psychological point of view a little bit annoying that he has to play 2 Protoss players back to back. We talked about this not really being his best matchup. He's quite shaky against Protoss these days. But he was able to take down the first opponent that he faced here, and that looked really solid. He saw right from the start what was going on, he identified the threat, and then he went for it right away and had the defense in place. I feel that Dia, on the other hand, is a very different opponent to face.
Yeah, he's really good on the matchup, and at least Curious can know that after this, even if he loses, he takes a 1-1, and then the 2 matchups that he doesn't want to play are already over. You know, he doesn't have to worry about that anymore in the group. He's going to be playing against only Zerg and Terran. But that's one thing Curious can think about as he goes forward here. Whirlwind is the map, a very large map, and can play into Curious's style. Curious's late game, Zerg versus Protoss versus strength is. Sometimes he struggles to get there, though.
And we are going into the game now, of course, here at GOMTV. We are looking at the up and down Group E. And you'll find out who are the 2 players who are going to the Premier League today. Curious so far with a good start. Actually, him and MarineKing, they are both leading the group right now. Dia wants to get his first win. For him, it's the first match. For Curious, already the second. Zerg versus Protoss once again. And maybe Curious is able to defeat the second Protoss player in his weakest matchup. That would be a great start for him into the group.
Yeah, certainly would be. Here we go, starting the game up right now. Curious's second Zerg versus Protoss. Deer's first game of the day here at the Up and Downs Group E with Caldor and Wolf.